YouTube, what is going on? Your boy Young Mustard is back. And man, oh man, this offseason has been crazy. You got Kawhi Leonard requesting a trade and wanting to go to LA. We don't know where LeBron's going. KD hasn't officially re-signed with the Warriors, and the owner is saying he gotta earn it, bruh. There's so much going on in hell. What are the Rockets gonna do? I mean, if they can't get LeBron, they're just gonna go in with the same team and just hope they can beat the Warriors? And what kind of dynasty super team are the Lakers trying to make here? So much going on and such little time for all of this to take place, basically. And today, there's a story that I want to talk about that absolutely nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about it. And that is the story going on in Minnesota. Because people forget that the Minnesota Timberwolves right now are entering the contract year of their only elite player. Yes, I will say that again. Their only elite player, Jimmy Butler. Now, some people may be saying this isn't a big deal. He'll most likely resign. Who doesn't want to play with someone like a Karl Anthony Towns? And hey, Andrew Wiggins did regress, but they signed him to an extension, and he may actually get better with time. He may grow a three-point shot, and he has Tom Thibodeau as the coach. Who knows how long that's going to last, but he has a team there that, can relatively compete in the Western Conference and be one of the better teams in the next few years. But there are reports coming out that Jimmy Butler is unhappy playing in Minnesota right now, and primarily unhappy playing with Andrew Wiggins. And he had a lot of struggles last season. But let me read the quote. It is from Sean Devaney of The Sporting News. I will drop the link in the description. It says, sources familiar with the situation told Sporting News that Butler is uncertain about playing with Wiggins. Butler had problems last season with Wiggins, his work ethic and approach to the defensive end of the floor. Thibodeau has had the same problems with Wiggins in the past too, and he has had some hope that bringing a tough-minded veteran like Butler into the locker room would spur Wiggins to improve, but it didn't. And everybody kind of already knows this, but I'm glad that it has come to the light that the players and the coach are really frustrated with Andrew Wiggins. Because the thing about Andrew Wiggins that I see on the court, the biggest problem obviously is the defensive side of the ball. But it is him not really trying to adjust his game to help the players around him. And look, I understand him and Jimmy Butler, they have similar styles of play. But at the end of the day, when LeBron James and D Wade and Chris Bosh joined together, who changed their games the most? It was Chris Bosh and D Wade, because LeBron's the better player. They gotta focus on playing with him. Butler was brought in to help you guys because you guys were too sorry enough to basically make the playoffs, because people forget that in 2017, the Timberwolves, they were a playoff team on paper. Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, Ricky Rubio, Gorgie Deng, Shabazz Muhammad, and Andrew Wiggins. If Andrew Wiggins was that great of a generational talent as LeBron James or Kobe or Kawhi, three players that he has been compared to throughout his whole entire career, that he has shown no resemblance to, not a single ounce, I might add. If he's as great as those players are, why is he not able to lead that team to the playoffs at that age? Because people forget that when LeBron James was 22, he was taking teams to the finals, even though it was the East. But even if you put him in the West, he could still get you to the playoffs by himself. So for people to sit here and just to say and to dismiss all of these arguments that, oh, well, Andrew Wiggins, he was young, he had no help, blah, blah, all the stupid arguments, because let's be real, he had enough. He had more than enough. He had substantial talent. But I guess Andrew Wiggins was just not a good enough player to do that, and that's why they had to go and trade for Jimmy Butler and give up Zach LaVine, when in reality you could argue they probably should have kept Zach LaVine and gave up Andrew Wiggins, because Zach LaVine is way more valuable in today's league offensively because he can space the floor, and I think that he complements Jimmy Butler's game way more. And that leads us to this past season, because this past season, if there was not an indication before that Andrew Wiggins had hope to be as good as someone like Kobe or LeBron, well, I'm sure we got the confirmation that he's not even going to touch the legacies of those players. Because this year, Andrew Wiggins had one of the worst slumps that I have ever seen any young player have. He went from 24 points to 18 points. His rebounds and assists stayed the same. His free throw percentage was disgusting at 64%. shot 33% from 3 on a career high attempts, I might add, and shot 43 to 44% from the field. And what makes this even worse is that Andrew Wiggins got exposed for being a dead stat player. He is a player who can put up great numbers scoring wise when they're not winning games, and that showed because Andrew Wiggins as a scorer, he was not really getting that much better. Sure, his points per game average went up, but that's because his usage rate and his field goal attempts kept going up with each and every season. He took less shots this year, had an elite offensive player in Karl-Anthony Towns, and a good offensive player, I wouldn't say great, but a really good offensive player in Jimmy Butler. So it is clear that his field goal percentage and even his three-point percentage, if he was taking open ones, that should have gone up. But no, that stuff went down. He had a true shooting percentage of 50. That is below league average, and that is disgusting, I might add. And he had a PR of 13. Andrew Wiggins, sure, in the playoffs, I would give him a break. He wasn't bad in the playoffs. Actually, you could blame that on Cat and Butler more than him. But he was still below standards, and he's probably the reason that they were even in the position to where they had to face Houston when Jimmy Butler was coming off of a surgery on his leg. So it is clear that Andrew Wiggins is just not the player that a lot of people thought he was, and the Timberwolves need to give up on his experiment and probably need to trade him sooner rather than later because he has that extension now. And Jimmy Butler, apparently that leads us to where we are now. He's frustrated playing with Andrew Wiggins because he thinks he doesn't have any work ethic like he does. And coming from someone like Jimmy Butler, I'm gonna take his word, because Jimmy Butler, we all know the grind and the sacrifice that he went through to get into the NBA, and nobody should know more about work ethic than Jimmy Butler. And he doesn't even try on the defensive side of the ball. And it's funny to me that as soon as Cat got there in his rookie year, we knew who was going to be the better player. It was clearly going to be Cat, and that was proven the next season when they both were putting up empty stats on a losing team. And then when it came to Jimmy Butler's situation in Minnesota, when Butler went down, that was a prime opportunity for Andrew Wiggins to step up. But no, this is where we once again saw that Cat was clearly the better player and Wiggins was inferior to Cat. Cat was the one who carried this team day by day by day, game by game by game, and it was shown that they were barely a 500 team around that stretch when Butler went down, and they were among the 4 best teams in the West and ended up dropping to the 8th seed, or should I say competing for the 8th seed with the Denver Nuggets in the last game. If Wiggins had stepped up in that time frame where Butler went down, they probably wouldn't have had to compete for the 8th seed in the last game, and they probably wouldn't have had to meet Houston in the first round. So it is clear that Wiggins, as a player last year, or should I say the season that just passed, he screwed up their entire season. Now, the way I see it, the Timberwolves have one of 3 options that they can make. They could either A, trade Jimmy Butler because he's going into his contract year, and let's be real, he probably won't stay if you keep the team together. Or B, you could either keep the team together, which would make Jimmy Butler want to leave, or C, make the decision that I think that they should make. I don't know if they're gonna make it. They have to trade Andrew Wiggins, because at the end of the day, it is clear that Andrew Wiggins is not panning out in Minnesota, and he's making everyone's life there harder. And I've seen the reports that Karl-Anthony Towns should be traded instead of Wiggins, but no, Wiggins has to be the guy that you let go, because if you're gonna keep Butler, why would you try to not convince him to re-sign by keeping Wiggins instead of Cat? He doesn't want to play with Wiggins. So in conclusion, the Timberwolves have a big decision to make this offseason that could change their franchise for the next 5 to 10 years and possibly change the Western Conference for the next 5 to 10 years. As I still think the Timberwolves have a chance to be one of the better teams, not just in the West, but in the league. But if they play their cards wrong here, they could basically end back up at square one before they even got Jimmy Butler, missing the playoffs for the next 15 years. It would be horrible to see that again, and I think if that happens again, Adam Silver, you got to get rid of this team, because we can't just have teams missing the playoffs for over a decade. So this is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about this video. If you agreed or disagreed, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell next to my name, and follow me on Twitter to suggest some videos. So we out. Have a great day. Peace.